Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosensia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and sponsored by international award-winning author Mia Mosensia of Missing. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 40 podcast platforms, as well as HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We can be heard in over 100 countries, featuring over 1,000 well-known and amazing guests throughout the globe. And named one of the top 100 global podcasts in the New York Weekly Times, Hollywood Entertainment News, Los Angeles Weekly Times, Apple, and Chartable. So sit back and relax and enjoy another great episode of the award-winning Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Casteel, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music. Also heard on HamiltonRadio.net, Oldies FM, Diamonds Radio, and a few other networks coming soon. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear, and more. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia. Check it out today. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. She's backed by a popular band, a Chicago native, first discovered Ohio on a college visit to Ohio University in Athens, met her future husband, Jim, and traveled back to Chicago and worked at numerous ad agencies and relocated back to Ohio in 2014, freelance copywriter, editor, and more. She was also, author of the amazing books, Meet Maddie, Best of the Trail Food Diaries, also Columbus Food Truck, and more. And she's going to talk about a new kind of truck, was the Ohio Ice Cream truck. So you remember the Ding Ding Ice Cream Man days? Well, they're back, and this time she's going to talk about the one in Ohio and live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful Ohio as well, too. And of course, she has her share of ice cream and bringing ice cream near you. The author of a brand new book, Ohio Ice Cream Truck, ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Renee Casteel Cook. Renee, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks so much for having me back, Mike.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. And always looking forward to having you on. Of course, especially you're hungry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You did Meet Maddie as your first book, Trust the Trail Food Diaries, the truck food, and also Columbus Food Truck. And you got a brand new one called the Ohio Ice Cream Truck. And tell us more about the brand new book, Ohio Ice Cream Truck.
Yeah, so if you can see that right there on the screen, called Ohio Ice Cream, A Scoop of History. And this one's a little different. It's a little bit more of the historical angle and a tour guide as opposed to a cookbook. A lot of people aren't making their own ice cream at home, so we pivoted away from the recipes, and we were able to include a lot more of the stories. Some of these ice cream shops have been around for multiple generations, and really just why Ohio has such a long legacy in the dairy industry. At one point, there were over 2,000 dairy farms. And now, that is translated into a multitude of ice cream shops, ice cream trucks, ice cream carts, all kinds of different setups, but everyone taking their own spin on a timeless treat.
Amazing. And what is your favorite ice cream?
So I can't pick an ice cream place because, that's like picking kids. And
No, I'm talking about the flavor.
Just a flavor. Perfect. I was going to say, since I've talked to you last, I have a couple more kids. I had twins. So,
oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks so much. So now I can't pick a favorite, obviously. But in terms of what I've been sampling the most of, being the Buckeye State, there are a lot of different takes on chocolate peanut butter combinations.
Oh, wow.
And some people like to approach that with a chocolate base and a peanut butter, say, ribbon swirled through. Some people like to go the opposite direction and do a really rich peanut butter ice cream and put chocolate chips in there. And that's actually a flavor that it used to be known as the Buckeye State from Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, which is featured in the book. It's now called salted peanut butter with chocolate flecks, but I'm always going to call it the Buckeye State. When they expanded outside of Ohio, they had to make it a little bit more understandable for those that might not recognize that immediately, by saying Buckeye was signaling the chocolate and peanut butter combination.
That's really interesting too. And of course, according to the book, the Buckeye State has legitimate claims as the birthplace of the ice cream cone, the banana split, the Klondike bar, the good humor man, and everything else. Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, Mason's Creamery, and Dairy Hut, and Whip-de-Doo, and Tom's Ice Cream Bowl, Grater's, Johnson's, and the list goes on and
it
on.
It sure
and
does.
on.
We were fortunate to have space for about 25 books to feature here, but there's an entire section in the back called Honorable Mentions because I just kept getting people feeding me, more shops that they wanted to see featured. Everybody's got their local favorite, whether it's a mom and pop or it's someone that has expanded like Jenny's from, the heart of Ohio here in Columbus, out to many states, almost all the way to the West Coast, in fact. So, and, some are known more nationally and some are more regional favorites. And I think that's what makes it so unique. Everybody kind of has their own favorite.
That's interesting too. You talk about the birthplace of the ice cream cone, and how did it get started in Ohio? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the state has a lot of claims to fame and firsts. And one of those is the ice cream cone, which was actually invented coming off of the 1904 World's Fair, which was held in Chicago. And so, that was a great tie-in for me as well, being a Chicagoan. But at that World's Fair, there's a couple of stories. It's a very heated debate as to who can claim true ownership. But the story goes that from Ohio, there was a team of brothers named the Menches brothers, and they were Frank and Charles. They had already in 1886 invented the hamburger. And so they're very entrepreneurial in the food space. They would later go on to create Cracker Jack. So all things that, as Americans were familiar with and love. But the ice cream cone came up because one of them was trying to woo a young lady there at the World's Fair, and they were serving up waffles made in a very thin waffle iron. And she had ice cream. And instead of having that melt and, of course, summer heat drip onto her, what would have been at the time a very ornate dress, they took what's called a fid. It's the actual stake that drives the tent at something like a fair and keeps it there on the ground. And it's sort of a cone shape. And they took this thin waffle they were making, they rolled it around the cone, and it essentially created the mold for the ice cream cone. And they therefore scooped the ice cream into it.
Oh my gosh. And how do they keep the ice cream cone intact though? It's like, instead of having like break apart or, unravel and everything, like the primitive methods that you hear about, how do they manage to keep it intact at the time?
Yeah, so I guess that waffle had some pretty good structure. And then subsequently, another gentleman from Ohio who had actually graduated from the Ohio State University with an engineering degree figured out how to automate the process. And so the machine that now creates, millions of these cones was actually also created by an Ohioan. So I think when they brought that, idea home, they were able to refine it and then therefore kind of commercialize it. And there is still a company here today called Norse Dairy Systems who produces the majority of those waffle and sugar cones that you see at ice cream shops, not just in Ohio, but throughout the country.
That's rather interesting too. And when the ice cream cone first came out, was it like a mad rush to get it, or did it just take time to evolve?
It seemed like it took off pretty quickly. There were a couple of other, as I said, competitive stories. There was a gentleman from New York. I believe there was another gentleman from St. Louis that took the concept home. They had either created something similar or they had seen it there at the World's Fair and tried to claim it as their own. But the Menchie's brothers are Ohio's claim to fame. And certainly their legacy still exists in their restaurants in the Akron area where they still have one of the original waffle irons that they made those on.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think Rita had one right now. And of course, you also have the birth of the Klondike bar. And what would you do for a Klondike bar? How did that get started? What did they do for a Klondike bar?
So the Klondike bar had a lot of familial history in front of it. It was created by a company called Isleys. And the Isleys were Swiss immigrants that had come over to the rolling hills of Ohio and thought this would be a great place for cheese making. And they found that while it was a great place to raise cattle, it wasn't the best place for them to use the techniques that they had used back in their homeland. And so they pivoted because they had all this dairy. And as entrepreneurial immigrants in the turn of the century did, they figured out, okay, what else can we do with this? So they had been owning dairy farms and had a actual company making ice cream since about the early 1900s. They'd been in the country since the 1800s. But in 1922, a couple of the family members got together and they wanted a unique novelty. Novelties had really taken off around this same time. You mentioned Good Humor, and of course everyone's familiar with the original food truck, the Good Humor truck. That was created in the 1920s as well. So separate parts of the state, lots of cross-pollination sort of going on even at that time. And the Klondike family, or the Isley family, was seeing all of these novelties that had a stick in them to hold on to. And they said, well, that's fine and dandy, but if we get rid of the stick, we can make the package smaller, again, all in the sake of being good business people. And they were able to change the chocolate coating so that it wouldn't melt all over your hands.
Wow.
And therefore they were able to remove the stick and make this a very interesting product to folks that were used to having to have their ice cream on a stick and you waste half the packaging with the stick in there. The other really interesting thing that they did around that time when they introduced the product was that they colored the centers pink. And not everyone had a pink center, but if you got a pink center, you were able to redeem it to get a free Klondike the next time you went to an Isley's location.
Oh my gosh.
Really, yeah.
And that's why people did that for a Klondike. What'd you do for a Klondike bar? Get one with the pink in it and you get another Klondike bar. That's what you do.
Price of one. So even though the Isley's company, which at its height had over 300 retail stores, dairies in Ohio, and had actually expanded to other bordering states, they actually went out of business in the late 70s. They had sold off all of their last operations. There was one family member that hung onto theirs, but now they are part of a company out of Pennsylvania called Conroy Foods, and that's why you can still get not only the Klondike bar, but you can still get Isley's ice cream at a number of grocery stores.
That's really interesting too. And of course, another popular confection came out of it too was also the birth of the banana split. And tell us about that.
Yeah, so the banana split is originated from Wilmington, Ohio. It's a very small town on the way basically down towards Cincinnati if you're going from Columbus. And in Wilmington, there was a restaurant named Hazard's Restaurant, and it was Ernest J. Hazard who owned that. And Wilmington College is there, and he was looking for a way to bring in college students at the time. And this was in 1907. He challenged his staff. So a lot of innovation right around the same time. But Mr. Hazard challenged his staff to come up with a new type of dessert. And it turned out to be his creation, of course, that he picked as the winner. So what he did was he split a banana, and now we all know where he was going with it. He put 3 scoops of ice cream in it, 3 different toppings, the whipped cream, the cherry, and he sold this as a banana split. Very quickly, he decided he needed a specific vessel to serve this in. And so there's a company called Anchor Hawking, which is in the Hocking Valley close to Athens, Ohio, that was able to produce these banana split boats. And now we all know that mold as iconic for the banana split. And of course, that dish has, transcended not just state lines, but, is a popularity throughout lots of the world as a banana split.
That is so interesting. I still think of that cartoon, the banana splits, kind of inspired by that. So
Yeah.
that's so amazing too. And we're here with Renee Casteel cook. And what are some of the other popular ice cream stories from the Ohio ice cream truck? We'll find out just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 40 podcast platforms, heard in over 100 countries, also on hamiltonradio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books, merchandise, and more. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with Chicago native, now living in Ohio, Renee Casteel cook with the Ohio ice cream truck here on the Mike Wagner Show. And we talked about a lot about ice cream, some of the unique inventions over there, and the story of all this great ice cream. What are some of the other unique flavors that you have in Ohio, and maybe some of the other stories you like to share as well, like, first flavors and first this, and how this come about and everything?
Yeah, so in terms of flavors, there's been a lot of innovation in that space, I would say, in the last 20 or so years. And really leading that charge is Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams. We've mentioned them a couple of times here. They became really well known for a flavor called salty caramel. I mentioned the Buckeye State flavor already. They have something called brown butter almond brittle. And then even, more recently, they just did a flavor with Nationwide Children's Hospital here in Columbus called Sunshine. And the ice cream is actually gray, which visually is not that appealing. And Jenny's flavors typically are very colorful and very appealing. And they really communicate, what you're about to taste. But with Sunshine, the partnership was about mental health and encouraging everyone to, express their emotions and embrace that. And so this flavor is meant to taste like sunshine, even though it might be a cloudy or a gray day. And so it's a really fun partnership that they've been doing for a couple of years now, but that just gives you a little idea of the ingenuity in the space where, they're going beyond just even the flavor profile. Certainly that's there and that's strong. But they're doing some things with the emotional tie to ice cream. And ice cream is a very emotional thing, whether it's a nostalgic thing for you, remembering going for ice cream as a child, or, in fact, over the last 2 years that we've all been dealing with this global pandemic, ice cream sales have gone up dramatically. Yes. A couple of the small batch creators in the book, I was just at an event this weekend with Charlotte and Olivia's Ice Creams, and he does all of his ice cream making out of a production kitchen, runs the business from his home, sells via mostly social media and farmers markets. His sales were up 30% during the pandemic. And, it's just a small thing that people can do for themselves or for someone else. Treat them to an ice cream cone. It's not going to break the bank. Matt Wilcoxon from Johnson's Real Ice Cream, who's featured in the family section of the book, because they are actually third generation. They started in Bexley, Ohio, when his grandfather was working as part of the meat production, essentially, of the grocer. And they realized, oh, well, people are coming here to get their meat and it's in a freezer. We can make ice cream and stick it in their freezer next to their meat, and they can pick it up when they come in for their groceries. And so they started just asking people, what flavors are you interested in? And at the time, you were able to request a very specific flavor. You could walk in and say, I want chocolate mint this week. And they would make you that, and it would be there in your case for your next pickup. Actually, it went so well that they ended up closing. The grocer closed. They bought the building and turned it into just an ice cream store. I shouldn't say just, because they do still have a small restaurant that's kind of like a lunch counter, but they're most known for their ice cream. And one of their favorite flavors from generations of customers, you've got grandparents now bringing their grandkids in, third and fourth generation families, is actually banana. And they tried to take banana off of the menu one year, and the customers were so unhappy that it was missing that someone created a petition in the restaurant, left a piece of paper behind, and within a couple of days it was filled up with signatures until Johnson's agreed to bring this banana flavor back.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And how about some of your favorite ice cream moments as well, too, even as a child today and everything like that? What are some of your favorite ice cream moments?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, the dedication in the book is to my mother, who claims that every day, Mike, I'm not sure if this was good parenting or if she's exaggerating a little bit after 30 years, but she claims that every day after preschool, we stopped for ice cream. We had a family friend that we would drive home, and she's no longer with us, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd ask her to vouch for my mom's memory. But either way, I ate my fair share, even on very cold Chicago winters. Ice cream was always a priority for me. And to her credit, she didn't make me start with vanilla. So I went straight for the hard stuff as a kid, and into the chocolate, into the melty, messy, probably all over her car, unless it was the dead of winter, and then hopefully it wasn't melting. But I've always, been a big fan. And then in moving to Ohio, it really is interesting how the dairy legacy of the state has translated into the diversity of the number of shops. And so just here in Columbus, you've got people who will claim they are X place versus Y place in terms of the big names. You've got Jenny's fans, you've got Graeter's fans. Graeter's is another great family story. They actually started before the turn of the century, when their great-great-grandfather was selling ice cream novelties. And he had left Cincinnati and came back in the early 1900s, started Graeter's from essentially the back of their Victorian home. And they were having people come into the front parlor to purchase it. And then unfortunately, he was in a tragic accident in 1919, and his widow was left with the business. And she had two relatively young sons. They were in high school still at the time, and they pushed through. They decided they were going to keep it going. They had a couple of locations going in the more affluent areas in Cincinnati, and they were making their ice cream 2.5 quarts at a time. They still make it in that same French pot process that makes their ice cream have a very specific mouthfeel, a really particular texture. And the other thing that Graeter's is known for is a very large chocolate chip. So instead of breaking the chocolate into actually small chips, they have a process where they melt it and then they swirl it in. And so you get these giant chunks alongside, some smaller chips. But everyone's always really excited when they get a giant chunk. And they do that in a they do it in a variety of flavors that have that chocolate in it, but they do it in a black raspberry chip, which has long been a Graeter's go-to for many Ohioans.
You're making me so hungry already. I'm ready to go to the store and grab some. If I have to walk or run there, I'll be glad to do so.
The nice part is now a lot of these places are shipping. And so you can get online after this and order yourself some Graeter's, and you can try that black raspberry chip firsthand. Jenny's as well does shipping, and a number of others that are included in the book.
Oh, definitely. We will certainly do so. And what's the most unusual flavor of ice cream that you ever encountered?
Okay, so there is a shop profile called Mason's Creamery. They are in the Ohio City neighborhood of Cleveland, Ohio, and their story is fantastic. They actually are transplants from California. The husband was originally from the Cleveland area, and he convinced his wife to come back to the area when they were looking for a new opportunity. They wanted to get out of the work that they were doing in California. And so he had, a few years prior to them moving, bought her an ice cream maker for her birthday. And Helen is her name. And she looked at him and she's like, honey, I love ice cream, but I don't really want to make my own. So he started making it for her. She's like, now that'll work. So he got really, really good at making ice cream. And when they relocated, they still kept making it just for their friends and family. And people encouraged them to pursue that as a potential new opportunity. So the first event that they signed themselves up for, that they submitted to be a vendor at, was an Asian festival in Cleveland that at the time had about, and I believe it's back now post-pandemic, and I'm sure it has equally as, if not more, of a following, had about 30,000 attendees for their first event.
Wow.
And they made an ube ice cream. And ube, if you're not familiar, is a root vegetable. It's a Japanese root vegetable. And what's really compelling about it, beyond the flavor, because it has a really unique flavor, is that it creates a purple colored ice cream. And I don't know, about folks listening. Hopefully we're not all, we of course we eat with our eyes, but hopefully we've progressed past the childhood days of ordering the blue ice cream. Although my children
I remember that. Yeah.
Based on color. Yes. And so one of my twins eats mint chocolate chip because her favorite color is green. I'm willing to lick that one when it drips because I also enjoy that flavor. One of my other twins, though, orders purple ice cream, anything that's purple. So I have had to sample grape, not my favorite flavor in ice cream. And I forget what the others are that she's tried, but the ube is actually a delicious purple ice cream.
Nice.
They also do a really fun egg waffle, which is also an Asian. You can find that a lot in Thailand, where it's a bubbled waffle. And so instead of a traditional waffle cone, they serve their ice cream in that. They've even done partnerships with local bakeries where they've had macaroon, so like a large shell of a macaroon cookie, and they'll sandwich the ube ice cream in between that. And there's some beautiful photography in the book that shows both of those.
Oh my gosh. You talk about the sampling, to your children and everything else. And maybe you think of Baskin Robbins back in the day, since we're both Chicagoans. Like every time I go in, you always ask for a little sample. I would sample every 33 ones. I seem to get attracted to the sherbets. I think raspberry got hooked on. I think, what was the other one? Yeah, like some kind of swirl or something lemon. It's just like, boy, this is going back like years and years and years. And
Sure.
Mint and different chocolates. You like your chocolate fudge or triple chocolate. You have like, let's see, I think you had chocolate brownie. It's like, oh my gosh, it was like,
oh yes,
so many of
chocolate
that.
almond was always my mom's favorite, but my husband is with you on the fruitier flavors. So when you get to Ohio, you'll have to try a place in Westchester, also sort of towards Cincinnati, and it's called The Cone. And they have been their mom and pop shop. They're on the roadside, but you will not be able to miss it because they actually imported a giant ice cream cone, soft serve, orange and vanilla swirl. And that's the flavor that they've been known for. Actually, the business was started by the current owner's parents, but when Keith Wren took over the business, he found this giant ice cream cone and brought it up to Cincinnati and opened what was their second location. And they are known for, it's like a creamsicle profile, but they call it orange and vanilla swirl.
Huh. That's really interesting. And I also thought about, ice cream being used in everything. Another Chicago thing is, what was it? Bressler's ice cream and, or what was it? Farrell's, you had like the happy birthday, a big thing of ice cream, and you could hear like, singing happy birthday, the bang, bang. It's like, at the other end of the mall. I remember those.
Yes, I've definitely heard of that. I believe in my research, there was one in Ohio as well. It closed, but it was up towards the Cleveland area, and people had fantastic memories of that, of course.
Mm-hmm. And how can one start an ice cream truck business as well?
Oh, well, there are a lot of new players on the scene. So as I mentioned, there are some people who are relying mostly on social media and doing a lot of selling home-based businesses where, they have either certain drop-off points that you can meet them at, or maybe they're selling out of a small grocer or even a restaurant. There is a company called Indulgence Ice Cream. He sells specifically out of La Tavola, which is an Italian restaurant in Grandview here in Columbus. He has some really interesting flavors like Belgian Bliss. So if you like those Biscoff cookies they give you on Delta Airlines, you can now buy them at the grocery store. But Dan there at Indulgence has your flavor for you. He also has a flavor called crack, because people literally, he was trying to name it and they're like, nope, it's just addictive and you're just going to call it crack. And he, really likes to experiment as well. And then Little Ladies is a soft serve truck here in Columbus who just opened a brick and mortar location within the last 6 months. So you can now go directly to them, or you can find them at street festivals. You can hire them for private events. There's also Mark's Homemade, which started off as a small fleet of trucks and now has a brick and mortar as well up in Bucyrus. So if you're coming through for the Bratwurst Festival that Bucyrus is very famous for, you can get your ice cream fix. There's always dessert for you there at Mark's. And then another one that has done some interesting terms of format recently is called Simply Rolled. And there's a location here in Columbus. There's also a location in Cincinnati. But they do a Thai-style rolled ice cream, which is on a cold griddle. So they actually pour the liquid ice cream onto the griddle, and then you can pick your toppings, and then you watch them actually push a scraper across it, and it turns the ice cream into these beautiful rolls that then get piled into a cup, and they get topped again with all of the toppings that are inside. Lots of things that are very Instagrammable, if you will. So between the colors, the flavors, and the presentations, there's always a social media opportunity when you're eating ice cream.
And certainly do so as well, thanks to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and everything else. And we all encourage everybody to eat ice cream. Where can we find Ohio Ice Cream Truck at, Renee?
So you can find the book on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble for major retailers. I believe also Target.com. And then in the state of Ohio, you can find it at many independent bookshops. We always like to support those guys, as well as many of the shops that are featured in the book are actually carrying it. And then if you want to go to my website, which is just www.reneecasteelcook.com, you can find more information about that as well as all of my other books.
And certainly we'll do so. We're here with author Renee Casteel Cook of Ohio Ice Cream Truck here on the Mike Wagner Show. And what can you expect from you in 2022 and beyond, besides more ice cream?
Yeah, so the rest of this summer, we've got plenty of events. I was just out at Velvet Ice Cream, which is another multi-generational. They're actually in their 4th generation. And what's outstanding about that is that I believe the statistic is going from the 2nd to 3rd generation, the number of businesses that stay in the family drops down into like the tens of percents. Under that, like to the 4th generation, it is 8%.
Wow.
Of businesses actually past that far. And so they, have kept the business. They even have a 5th generation sort of getting groomed and ready. They've got a code of ethics for the Dagger family, and Luconda Dagger is their current leader with her sister Joanne and some other family members that are very involved in the organization. But every year they host the Utica Sertoma Club's Ice Cream Festival for Memorial Day weekend. And they were excited to be back in 2022 and will be in future years, all 3 days of that weekend, supporting and celebrating the fact that they've been making ice cream for over 100 years. And actually their anniversary was during the pandemic. So this was a big celebration this time. But I'm going to be throughout the state for the rest of the year. And then this is breaking news, but I just got the green light on a new book that should be out in 2023. And it's actually going to be similar to the flavor that I mentioned I always have to try. It's actually going to be all about the candy of the Buckeye.
Oh,
so
candy of the Buckeye.
Yeah, we're going to profile various shops throughout the state that make the Buckeye candy, why it's become so famous, some new and more modern takes on a very traditional candy, and even some foods that are inspired by it, like a Buckeye pizza.
Ooh, we're certainly looking forward to that. So guys, go get some candy, get some ice cream, everything else you're making.
You can actually do that all in the same place at both Aglamisi's Brothers and Deitch Brothers, 2 different parts of Ohio. So if you need your ice cream fix with the candy counter in the same location, check out one of those.
We certainly do so. We're with Renee and Casteel, cook of Ohio Ice Cream Talk here on the Mike Wagner Show. Renee, a very big thank you for your time. Thanks for giving us an update. Looking forward to having again soon. Let's get some ice cream. And once again, tell us where can we find your book at, what's your website, and how do people contact you?
Thanks so much, Mike, for having me. It's always fun to be here. Yeah, you can find me on social media at @Casteel and you can find all of my event information there, as well as on my website, which is www.reneecasteelcook.com. For your major retailers, check out Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Target. And of course, support your local independent bookshops when you're in Ohio.
We'll certainly do so. Once again, Renee, it's great to have you on. A very big thank you for your time. You're always amazing, and looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep this up to date.
Thanks, Mike. Have a sweet summer.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show. Brought to you by international award-winning author Mia Mosin-Zia of Missing, and powered by Sonic Web Studios. Be sure to join us again on over 40 podcast platforms, and of course on the MikeWagnerShow.com, HamiltonRadio.net, and Diamonds FM. Don't forget to support our program with a generous donation at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Thanks for listening.